So the first one is some general items here. The clever speed and also the time. Clever speed, it came as 93. This is elite men's average, which means the professional players, college players, and some teaching professionals. But you are way below.
Yes.
And then when it's normalized to the body height, it's slightly better, but still.
Still way below.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the clever speed is a lot lower than typical or expected. And then overall swing time is it's just about 950 milliseconds. So it's a faster than typical. So on the average, it goes slight over 1,000 milliseconds. So, but you are spending a bit less time. It's because you have really short backswing.
Yes.
And then, judging from the clever speed pattern here, so the clever speed increases in the backswing and hits a peak value about here, and then goes down here. Now, event two is when the club is aligned horizontal here.
Okay.
So then you are reaching pretty much the peak clever speed during the backswing. This is too early.
Okay.
So instead, the peak should occur somewhere here. So toward top of backswing here.
All right.
So instead of having almost a symmetric speed pattern here, that means you are increasing the speed and then decreasing the speed here.
Okay.
You have to reach the peak about here. So initially it could be slower, but then you gradually build the speed more toward the end of the backswing.
All right.
That way you can connect the backswing to downswing better. So this means you have an early quick action of the body, but after that you kind of slow down this motion. So later we will see this in the kinematic sequence pattern. But so I want to see this peak, the clever speed peak during the backswing, more toward the top of backswing, so about here.
So we see a more of a V, so it would go up, then down, up again?
Yeah, so it increases gradually here, hits a peak value, and quickly decrease, and then going into a downswing.
Got it.
So you need to have an active slowdown toward the end of the backswing. Now, this is the top view. So this shows the overall direction of your swing. This large rectangle shows the swing plane. So this line shows the direction of the swing plane. It's a slightly outward. So it's on the average is 2.6 degrees outward here. And then this smaller rectangle is the hand motion plane. It shows the motion of the hands. And then it is almost toward the target here on the average. But you do have a large standard deviation here. So in terms of hand motion, it's not that consistent.
All right.
This standard deviation should be partially because currently we're only using 3 trials here. But still, the standard deviation number is a bit large. That means your hand motion, in terms of hand motion, from trial to trial, you have some differences here. But generally, this alignment is okay in terms of direction. Now let's take a look at the swing plane here. So this is aligned along the swing plane. This straight line is the swing plane, calculated from your cleaved motion, from horizontal to horizontal here. And then you have a planar motion here. So at the top, this is backswing top here. You're only going this much. So this is really short backswing. And then this is actually top of backswing here. So from here to this here. And then the slope of the swing plane is on the average 43.7 degrees. This is a bit flat for your height. You see this point here. This is called the mid-trunk point, which shows the midpoint of the trunk here. Generally, the swing plane passes near this point here. So
So
it's a bit
flat.
flat, yeah, because you intentionally try to lay off a little bit.
Okay.
With a small backswing, and then you intentionally try to drop the club head a little bit. So at this point, at the top of backswing here, at top of backswing, you will see that your hands are deviated from the swing plane a lot more than the club head here. Okay, so you are intentionally try to introduce this shallowing motion early on. Okay, so this is the backswing top position. Your hands are way above the swing plane. This is closer here, but it's okay to keep it more parallel to the swing plane here.
All right.
And then the hand motion plane is 49 degrees here. This is also quite flat here. So between the club plane, club head motion plane, and the hand motion plane, on the average we have about 9 to 10 degree difference. So this should be around, for your height, 46 to 47 degrees. Then this should be 56.
Wow.
But your hand motion is also quite flat here. It's because you don't want to bring this high up here. You want to flatten the swing.
But we need to get it up.
Yeah, so let me add the hand motion pad here.
What you're saying makes perfect sense. I mean, you're nailing it.
So here, in the backswing, your club head pad is fairly upright here. It's going way above the swing plane here. So for that, you have to bring the hands high. But in order to shallow this early here, club head dropped. And then after that, if you look at your hand pad, it's coming down along this flatter path here. That's why the hand motion plane. The hand motion plane is calculated from when the lead arm is parallel to the ground to when the club is horizontal here. So that's this event here. So from here to impact, the hand motion plane is calculated. So from top of backswing to this position, you're dropping the hands. First, your backswing is fairly flat, but at the same time, you're dropping this quite a bit here. So that's why the hand motion plane is quite flat here. But you can do shallowing during the backswing by bringing the club head a bit higher. So usually, the best pattern is the club head follows the swing plane in the backswing, and then goes slightly above and then coming down and looping here. That way, at the top, both your hands and club are fairly similarly deviated from the swing plane. Okay. That means the club is parallel to the swing plane. Then from there, you can drop the hand and then let it go. Then the hand will follow steeper path here, than the club head. So that's why we have, on the average, about 9 to 10 degree difference. But in your case, you have intentional looping motion here. Particularly, the hand goes high up and then dropping here. This is possible because your backswing is not that large. But in order to make the backswing a bit bigger, so that you have a longer runway, then it has to go higher up here. Because we cannot turn anymore. If you keep going this way, then you are stopped here. So because of the anatomical limitations, then we try to bring this higher to continue this motion. So when you go with the bigger motion, then it'll change a little bit. But so currently with the smaller backswing, then you are intentionally introducing this looping motion here. And then with that, your swing plane is a bit flatter than typical. And then your hand motion plane is also quite flat here. This red line shows the whole body center of mass motion. So this one is the whole body center of mass here. So it starts from here. The red line goes this way. So moving away, and then going diagonally going up here, and the diagonally coming down here, and hit the low point here, and then diagonally going up here. So this is impact here.
Okay.
So what I see here is that in the backswing, your center of mass motion from here to here is more in the diagonal direction, right? So this should be more vertical. Vertical. So that means you have to push the ground well with the trail side here.
Okay.
When you push the ground good with the trail leg here, then center of mass initially moves away, but it's more going vertically up here, and then coming down enough. And then when you have good lead leg action in the downswing, at impact, this goes above the initial position here. So this has to go a bit up more.
Okay.
And another thing is that the timing here. So this is the high point here, right? The center of mass reaches the high point. This is too early. So this usually should be at the high point about here. This 5, I don't know whether we can see this, but this is 5 here, which is the end of pelvis rotation.
All right.
So when the pelvis rotation is completed, then the pelvis starts rotating in the opposite direction. About here, you reach the high point. But you are reaching high point early, and then you are overall your body is going down here. And also the low point here. Now about here, the center of mass is at the lowest point here, about here. But this is delayed. So, the center of mass reaches low point when the club is almost aligned vertically here. So, way before this. So about here, when the club is aligned vertically, then you are reaching the low point. And then the center of mass starts moving upward, so that at impact it goes above the initial position here. So this is, I think, primarily because your backswing is too small.
Okay.
So your backswing is completed, the rotation is completed here, but because you know that you have a small backswing, so you have looping motion, your body is already going in the opposite direction here. So what I want to see is that center of mass goes away, and they're going more up here, and then diagonally down, and then diagonally up here.
Okay.
Instead of going up in this direction, diagonal direction here. This is the pelvis motion. The lower graph shows a rotational motion. The upper one shows a translational motion. And then this red line here shows a rotation.
Okay.
One thing I forgot to mention is that, let's go back here. So 5 here is when the pelvis rotation is completed. 6 is the top of backswing here. Between 5 and 6, the time, this phase is called the transition phase, but the transition phase time is really short. So between the point where your pelvis rotation is completed and where you reach the top, so then backswing top means it's the club transition point.
Okay.
So between the pelvis transition point to the club transition point, you have not much time here. You have really short transition phase. That means when you transition, it'll be probably all clustered transition instead of good sequential transition.
Got it.
It's because your backswing is short.
It's short.
Yeah.
So everything's coming back to a short backswing.
Yeah, and also it should be, you have to build the speed more toward the end of the backswing. Using that momentum, you keep rotating the shoulders while the pelvis slows down.
Okay.
So then you'll have a better separation between the hips and the shoulders. You have continuous separation all the way to top of backswing, and then club transition happens. So between pelvis transition and club transition, you have well-spaced sequential transition of the body parts. But if this time is short here, then everything transitions at the same time.
Got it.
So that's what I see there. And then to go back to the pelvis here. So this is rotation, pelvis rotation. So 5 is when the pelvis rotation is completed. So it's a peak. You are at the peak here at 5. So this is when the pelvis rotation is completed. This value is similar to a man's average, elite man's average. And then the pelvis starts rotating in the opposite direction, and then back to the neutral position here. And then now the pelvis is turning more toward the target, and then at impact, you are about here.
Okay.
So then if you look at this value and this value, so this is a bit smaller here. So in other words, you are turning this side a bit more than this side here. Part of the reason why your club head is going slightly outward because you don't have enough turn this way.
So you need more hip turn.
Yeah, so if you turn the body a bit more, but then because you try to keep it the lower on this side here, that's why also it's hard to turn this way here.
Sure.
So in order to turn this way more, then you have to keep it a bit higher here. And then you can have a bigger backswing here.
Okay.
And then this blue line is a lateral tilt, so this tilt here.
Okay.
So as the backswing continues here, the trail side is higher. The trail side is higher, the lead side is lower, so you will have this lateral tilt, left tilt, all the way here, and then right tilt to this position. This is normal. But this green line shows this tilt here, forward backward tilt.
Okay.
This shows a tendency of a forward tilt. So you keep your pelvis somewhat forward tilted. So what should happen is this actually should go up here, above here, coming down and going above here.
Okay.
So starting relative to your initial position, you tend to keep the pelvis more forward tilted. That means your pelvis tends to move backward. So that's evident here. The red line here is a forward backward motion. When you start backswing, it stays here, and then it goes up. This means your pelvis center mass is moving forward. So from here to here is forward motion, and then backward motion, and the forward motion here. And this has to go a bit more, and then backward here. But if you return to the initial position here, that means you are sliding pelvis a bit too much backward. So when you have really active interaction with the ground, then pelvis center mass stays in front of the initial position.
Okay.
Because you are starting the backward motion first here. Usually it stays here and then goes forward, but your initial motion is backward motion. So when the pelvis moves backward, it has to show forward tilt.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense. It's kind of hard to have backwards tilt.
Yeah. So always a backward pelvis motion comes with the forward tilt. So if you have a backward motion, then initial motion is this is a forward tilt here. When it goes below when it decreases, then it's a forward tilt. When it increases, then it's a backward tilt. But with the backward motion of the pelvis, you have a forward tilt. And then because the pelvis is generally staying, a bit in the backward position, so that's why you overall have a more forward tilted position compared to the initial. So that's what I see there. But if you have really active action here, so when you use the ground really very actively here, then your pelvis does not slide backward that much.
Okay.
Because particularly when you try to push the ground hard, then you have to assume the hip joint position at certain position so that you can really promote this push.
Got it.
But if the pelvis moves backward, it's hard to push.
So we're coming to longer backswing, more ground interaction, more movement.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, and then thorax here. Okay. Here, so the thorax motion here, as you start the backswing here, then your thorax tends to go a more upright position here. So this green line here, this is thorax lean angle.
Okay.
And then it's going closer to the axis here. That means you're losing the lean. So thorax, because you want to lower this side, here, keep it lower here. So your thorax is kind of going upright here. That's what I see here in the green line. And then Also, in order to keep this side low, then essentially your thorax is leaning slightly this way here and then make it lower here. Generally, from here to about here, we typically see the thorax more going slightly reverse pivot posture here.
Okay.
Then if you go this way here, then this side is obviously going higher here. You don't want to do that. So if you want to go flat here, then you're more leaning this way here. So that's what I see in the thorax motion here. So again, it's associated with your effort to keep the backswing a bit flat. And then X factor here, so this shows the separation between the shoulders and hips here. So it's so currently these two lines are parallel to each other. The hips and shoulders are parallel to each other, so X factor is 0. But after that, the thorax, shoulders turn more, so then we have this X shape here. So the angle between the two lines is the X factor here. So up to this point, what we see is that so this slope is steeper than this side here. So initially, you are increasing the X factor rapidly here up to this point. Then this slows down here because the slope is now flatter than this one here.
It must be when I start doing this.
Yeah. So this is coming from initial action.
Okay.
Initial quick action here, and then after that you are kind of slowing down here. So the slope is a bit flatter here. And then this is endopelvis rotation. This is top of action. Your X factor keeps increasing here. That means your pelvis is now rotating faster than the shoulders in the downswing. With that, you further increase the X factor, but this is bad. So this is a misconception in my perspective. You intentionally try to create this X factor. So this is called the X factor stretch here. This is downswing stretch. This stretch happens during the downswing. The difference between endopelvis rotation and top of backswing, this is the backswing stretch. I want to see larger backswing stretch than this downswing stretch here. So when you have this large downswing stretch, that means your backswing is poor. That's why you have to do something at the beginning of the downswing.
Okay.
So in this one, from here to here, top of backswing to this here, the shoulders are not moving that much, but your pelvis is opening. With that, you are creating this additional stretch here.
Okay.
This is usually coming from poor backswing. But if you have continuous separation all the way to top of backswing, then you don't need to do this.
All right.
But for that, in order to maintain that, you have to put more effort toward the end of the backswing rather than early. You have to continue this and then gradually build up the effort and have good wind up toward the backswing. Yes, that's why earlier I said I want to see the peak cleavage speed more toward the end of the backswing, right?
All right.
So you have an early quick motion, and after that you have a slow motion of the body. So then you know by instinct that your body is not ready. So on the way down, the first thing you will do is open the pelvis faster here, so they try to create this more X factor here. So this is typically a sign of a poor backswing. You can only do this when your backswing is kind of slow. You lose this momentum here. So then you have to do something with your body. So early on in the downswing, you try to compensate that. Okay. And then now here's the kinematic sequence. So there are three kinematic sequences in golf swing: the backswing sequence, the transition sequence, and then downswing sequence. So let's first look at the backswing sequence. The backswing sequence is determined by the timing of the peak angular velocities of the body during the backswing. So these are all angular velocity, rotational velocity data here.
Okay.
The red line is the pelvis. So the pelvis angular velocity increases in the backswing direction. It peaks here. So this point is when you are here. So almost at the beginning of the backswing, your pelvis angular velocity peaks. This is really early. And then the green is the thorax, blue is the shoulders. So the thorax and then shoulders reach peak value about here. This is also early. And then the arms reach a peak value about here. This is also early. So what happens here is that all your body shows a peak angular velocity in the backswing quite early in the backswing. So you have a quick early motion of the body, then slow down here. So as you can see here, from here to here, you're slowing down, but here actually it increases the angular velocity a bit more here. So this is a second stage motion here.
Okay.
Instead of keeping this peak about here in the middle of the backswing, then you increase the angular velocity and then deceleration and then going into the downswing. But what happens is you have an early quick body motion, slow down and then try to do something later. So you need to maintain these peaks a bit later, more toward the center of the, time-wise, center of the backswing here.
So we're saying a faster, longer backswing.
And it's, so when you have a bigger backswing, then automatically you have more room there.
Okay.
So in order to reach there with the similar time, then you have to have a bit faster motion to make the backswing bigger for the same time period.
Got it.
Then naturally this will shift this way. And also try to build the effort more toward the backswing. You're angry here.
Okay.
Instead of quick motion and then try to go easy here.
Got it.
So in terms of backswing sequence here, these are happening too early.
All right.
It's not just a matter of sequence, but the timing is really important. But these are happening quite early here. So that's why here you have almost the second stage motion here. Even the thorax decreases, the angular velocity decreases, but then it increases again. It has a second peak here. So instead, these peaks should occur more at the center of the backswing, time-wise. And then the arms will reach peak angular velocity about here, then the club will be even later here. So that overall you have to build a good effort toward the end of the backswing instead of early and then slow motion here. The second one is the transition sequence here. So this is end of pelvis rotation. And then this is top of backswing here. So this is the transition period. But then the arms and the club transitions about here. But overall, because this transition period is really short, everything is pretty much clustered here. So go up here, and then the whole thing is pretty much transitioning at the same time. So you need to have more space here, and then well-spaced transitions of the body parts. For that, you have to have really active backswing here, and the bigger motion here. So the transition sequence is quite clustered. And then the downswing sequence. In the downswing, these peaks are happening almost at the same time. Okay, so the pelvis, thorax, shoulders, and then the arms, these will usually reach peak angular velocity almost at the same time. The time window is really narrow.
Okay.
So you don't see well-spaced sequential, peaks. However, the timing is delayed here. These peaks should happen about here, when the club is aligned vertical on the way down. So you have to reach peak angular velocity about here, and then have enough time from here to impact, so the body slows down, but you accelerate the club more.
Okay.
But because the peaks are delayed, so you don't have much time from here to impact, and then you cannot really develop good wrist motion. And then so in order to bring this club angular velocity to this level here, then your wrist angular velocity should be increased quite a bit. But because you have small backswing here, you don't have that much wrist cock to start with. From there, it's hard to develop good wrist motion or the uncocking motion here. So that's why this is way below the man's average, and then the club angular velocity is also way below the man's average. So, I mean, you are a seasoned golfer. You are a teaching professional. So, and then score-wise, you can generate a good score. But if you intend to increase your distance a bit more, then more than anything, you have to increase the backswing and then also increase the wrist cock.
Okay.
So let's go to the swing plane view again. Now, if we use a different perspective here, so this is a swing plane view. You're only going this much here. So if you look at the wrist here, you don't have that much wrist cock here to start with. So from there, as you come down here, the club stays fairly far away from the body. Then when this happens, the overall moment of inertia of the body and the club system becomes large. Okay. Moment of inertia is the resistance to rotational acceleration. And then if you have large moment of inertia of the whole system here, then with the same effort, let's say, when you try to develop angular acceleration, your angular acceleration should be small, okay? Because the club is staying far away from your body. So you have to keep it closer so that reduce the overall system moment of inertia. Then with the same effort, you can generate the faster motion here.
All right.
But for that, more than anything, your arm rotation is enough. But you have to let the club go more this way here.
So I just have to let it
Yeah,
set.
yeah. But if you go flat here, it's hard to do that.
So it's gotta be
You have to
here.
bring the hands a bit higher here. So keep the hands there, and then let the club head go more. From there, if the club is aligned fairly parallel to the swing plane, then you don't have to do any intentional shallowing. You can use this natural shallowing using body-driven motion here. So with that, you just bring this down and then let it go. Then the hand, during the downswing, the hands will move along a steeper path. Okay, it's coming down here, and the club head is going around here. So more than anything, you need to increase the motion of the club head here. In the end, what matters is the motion of the club head here, because you are hitting the ball with the club head motion, right? So this arm position is reasonable because your shoulder turns, slightly more than 90 degrees. This is okay, but you have to let the club go more. When you have more club motion, then automatically the transition phase will be elongated. But because you are stopping here, so from the endopelvis rotation to this position, you don't have that much time. But from the endopelvis rotation to this position here, then automatically you have a longer time.
Sure.
So during this period, your shoulders will still turn here. So you have more continuous separation.
Okay.
So this is one key aspect that you need to address. So again, in the kinematic sequence, we can see that in the backswing, your rotation motion is too quick early in the backswing. So these peaks are occurring quite early. And then the transition phase is really short. So, we don't see good, well-spaced sequential transition here. And then in the downswing, these peaks are delayed. So you really need to use the big muscles in the body while creating good coiling here. With that, using larger muscles here, by keeping the club close to the body, you can generate the early acceleration of the body. Then you will be able to reach peak values early. Okay. And with that, you have enough time to let the club go. And then this is this will show how you use the ground here. So the arrows here, these arrows show the ground direction forces. And then at the beginning here, so the middle graph shows the force magnitude. Okay? So this is the beginning of a backswing here when the club head starts moving. At this point, you have similar forces acting on both here.
Okay.
But ideally, at this point, you should have more force on the lead side here. So when you start the backswing, you have to push the ground, go
Yeah,
with the lead leg, and then
Make it go that way.
that creates this backswing motion.
Okay.
So at this point, you should have more force on this side. Then eventually, they will become equal to each other. And then now you have more force on this side here.
Okay.
So around here, the hands are staying quite away from your body here. So you are lifting this quite a bit here. About here, so you have a lot of loading on the trail side here, not much on the lead side.
All right.
However, if you look at the total force, the middle arrow is the total force, combined force.
Okay.
It peaks about here. This is early.
Yeah.
This has to happen about here. And then maximum loading on the trail side should occur about here. Okay? But these are happening a bit early. And also this push, so this is one body weight. So in the vertical direction, the force starts from one body weight, because when you're just standing here, then the ground reaction force and body weight should be equal to each other. And then when we push actively, then the force goes above the body weight, like this. And then when we don't push hard enough, then the force goes below the body weight. So this phase is called the unweighting phase. So we are interacting with the ground in the vertical direction by pushing actively and then not pushing enough. So we are repeating active push and the unweighting. Okay? So we have a push here, unweighting, and then push here. So we always repeat this. And then when you increase the level of interaction with the ground, then unweighting increases and then the push increases. So as you can see, this push is a lot higher than this one here,
Right.
because you're pushing more actively here. Then after that, it'll go a lot more down here. So you're unweighting here. But before this push, you need to have good unweighting here. Now, the problem is, if you don't have good push here in the backswing, you cannot create good unweighting here.
Right.
So during the backswing, remember I said your center of mass is more moving in the diagonal direction. That means you are lacking the push using the trail side.
All right.
When you have good trail side push, then this will go a bit higher here. You have a clear active push, and after that you have clear unweighting here. Good continuous unweighting. The peak unweighting should occur about here. But this unweighting is a free, flat here, so you don't have that much unweighting here. And then when you don't have a good unweighting, you cannot push the ground good here. And also this maximum force here, this is severely delayed. Maximum force should occur about here, again, when the club is aligned vertically. So the maximum push should occur here. For that, you must have good unweighting before that, so that from the unweighting, you push, so then it rapidly increases to reach the peak value here. But at this point, the force is not that large compared to man's average here, and then so your peak occurs a lot later here. So
A longer backswing would take care of a lot of that because it would change.
longer backswing, and then also you have to develop good rhythmic motion here.
Yeah.
So rhythmic motion in golf swing is more like a stepping. Step, push, and then push here. Push, drop, and push.
Okay.
Bring up, body up, and drop it, and then push.
Okay.
And then that's coming from just a good push.
Sure.
Between the pushes, you automatically have good unweighting. So you don't have to intentionally try to create that unrating, as long as you let the body drop after the push.
Okay.
Push, and then you don't care, okay? Push, and then wait, and then push this side here. Then between the pushes, automatically you have good unrating.
Okay.
So you have to pay attention to this push, and then this push, timely push. Yeah. Then between the pushes, you have good unrating, and you'll be able to have good push here.
Okay.
So, so force-wise, you have more loading on the trail side here, but then this is kind of decreasing a little bit, and then now you try to push again here. That means you have two-stage motion here. One push here and another push here. You have, because you had earlier quick motion here, and slow down and then try to do something again with this. But if you had the good push here,
Yeah, wouldn't need the
then
second
you just
push.
need the good unrating and then going to the second push
Okay.
right away here. But you have push and then push again in the backswing. So, and then another aspect is the lower one is the so-called the moment arm here, which is the separation between this arrow and the center of mass here. Imagine you're using a wrench.
Mm-hmm.
Then from the center of rotation, or where the nut is, to your hand, this is the moment arm.
Okay.
So the same thing. If we assume this is the wrench here, this is center of rotation, rather that the center of mass is the center of rotation, then this is where your force is acting. So this separation here is called the moment arm or lever arm.
Okay.
So the lower graph shows that. And then your lever arm here is the longest here at this point. This is early. And also at this point, when you have a longest momentum here, then the total force should go more this way here, pointing toward the target, but the force is going away here.
Yeah.
So this is again too early here,
Okay.
with the early quick action here, and then you lose the momentum. Now, since the force is passing through the center of mass, you have zero momentum here. And after that, the force will incline to the other side, toward the target, and then, but this momentum is really short here.
Yes.
So by the time you reach the top of backswing, here you need the long momentum here, but again, this is short here. And when you multiply this momentum and the force here, the red line here and the red line here, that gives the torque you generate in the front plane.
Yeah, that's
So this shows how much torque you generate by using the ground in the front plane.
okay.
And then you are here. And then the peak occurs here. This is because of the longest momentum here.
Okay.
Using the longest momentum, still in terms of force, it's unrating, but you have the largest torque here. But this is way below the man's average here.
Right. Wow.
And then it quickly drops. So usually the peak occurs between top of backswing and then 7 here. So timing is okay. However, it has to go a lot higher here. So for that, again, you have to have good push in the vertical direction here. And also, in order to maintain a lot longer momentum here, then the force should incline more. In order to have a more inclination here, you must have good horizontal interaction with the ground. So you should have a good horizontal interaction.
Okay.
Okay, so from the initial away motion, when you change the direction, you push the ground good in the horizontal direction. With that, when you have a large horizontal component, then overall force inclines more. And also, when you have more unweighting here, then the vertical force decreases. So in order to increase the inclination here, then you have to have more horizontal force and but less vertical force.
Okay.
So by using good unweighting, but at the same time pushing the ground horizontally, during unweighting you push the ground horizontally, then with that, you can generate good inclination force arrow.
Okay.
That gives a large torque here. So on one hand, you have a large moment of inertia because of the club staying far away from the body.
Right.
So you have disadvantage, but also at the same time, you're not generating enough torque to create that angular acceleration. So then it's hard to generate good speed.
Got it.
So in terms of interaction here with the ground, you have to develop good rhythmic motion. And then the simple rule here is, if you want to increase the vertical interaction with the ground, then you have to create vertical motion of the body. And then when you try to interact with the ground in the horizontal direction well, then you have to create that horizontal motion.
Okay.
Actually, the force causes acceleration. That acceleration causes a motion, right? So that means when you have a good horizontal motion, that means you're using the horizontal force well.
Okay.
When you have a good vertical motion of the body, that means that you are using the vertical force well. So in other words, if you want to use the ground well, then you have to generate good horizontal motion and vertical motion. So if you don't have a good if you don't move in the vertical direction or horizontal direction, that means you're not using the ground. So
It seems like I've become too static as I'm here.
yep.
So I'm short and I'm static, so I'm not making good use of the ground, which is making things even worse here. I'm trying to make up for it by shallowing this and generating power.
So with the short backswing, then you don't have to worry about this disconnect here. A lot of people have too much backswing, and then they have disconnect, so it's hard to hit the ball accurately. But in your case, by shortening the backswing, and impact is good, you can generate good score, but you are losing the dynamics there. But with your age, you're 65,
Yes.
right? So I don't know at this point whether you really need to go for the speed.
Okay.
But still, I think you can use some additional speed. That means you need to increase the dynamics of the swing
Well,
motion.
that seems like it'd be an easy way to do it, too.
Now, let me show you another pattern here, which will inspire you quite a bit. Grant should be in his late 50s now.
All right.
So he's younger, obviously. But in his case, if you look at the X factor pattern here, continuous increase all the way to top of action. And then not much bouncing stretch here. He has good backswing stretch.
Okay.
Between 5 and 6, he has a lot more time. And then kinematic sequence here, you can see his peaks are happening about here. The red, green, and blue about here. Now this is the arm, this is the club head, the club here. So generally, the peaks are happening more toward the middle of the backswing here, and then the arms, and then club here. So these are delayed here. And then the transition sequence, well-spaced sequential transition. And then in the downswing, the peaks occur about 8 here when the club is aligned vertically. So he has more time between this and the impact. And then this is how he interacted with the ground. So at the beginning, he has more force acting on the lead side here. And then now about here, the two forces becomes equal to each other. And then he has good push here, clear push here. And then maximum loading on the trail side here. So these are a bit later than yours. Okay. And then after this push, so from here, the unweighting starts. And then continuous unweighting all the way to this point here.
Okay.
Maximum unweighting, the longest moment time here. Still is a good amount of unweighting. The force is not that large, but with this long momentum, look at how much inclination he has here. And then, so this is the momentum. Long momentum. With that, at the beginning of the downswing, he already generates torque similar to elite man's average maximum. This is average maximum. That means some people just hit the maximum and then coming down
Right,
here.
he's hitting it and staying
But
on it.
yeah, he
goes
reaches
above it.
that value from the beginning, and then all the way to here. Basically, he's maintaining this. So perhaps about up to this point here, when the curve is vertical, if you take an average, so this area should be similar to this. So on the average, he's maintaining this much torque. And then the peak force occurs here. After this good unrating, he has good push here. Timing-wise, this is happening at the 8 here, when the club is aligned vertically here. So he has good trail side push here, and then unrating and the lead side push here.
Okay.
So this is coming from more stepping-like rhythm here.
Okay.
And then if you look at his club head motion,
Yeah, it's way more
yeah,
vertical than.
it stays on the swing plane in the backswing. Then it goes above. You have good looping motion. This is the top of backswing here. These are still deviate quite a bit, but from there, because he is starting the downswing with the body motion here, you can nicely drop this, and then good planar motion to this here. So you don't have to intentionally try to drop the club head.
Okay.
So this is this pattern is a bit different from yours.
Yeah, way different.